I also just at a personal level, okay, young senator, vice president, writes some best-selling books, is hated by the media. It kind of sounds like J.D. Vance.
All right, guys, so we have some breaking news. J.D. Vance may have accidentally told the truth for once. I'm kind of kidding, but as most people know, just to set this up, most people know this already. J.D. Vance has written a book, and it's called Communion: How I Found My Way Back to God or Back to Faith or whatever, right? And so he's going around doing this book tour to like promote himself and promote the book. And, Christian signal to the MAGA mouth breathers that he's still a part of the tribe, even though, at one point he decided that he was an atheist and he's actually married to a Hindu woman. But he's got to let, the MAGA base know that he's still a Christian. So he's promoting this book, and he decides to do this at Richard Nixon's presidential library out in California. And he accidentally let slip that we are living through the most corrupt administration of all time. Here, take a look.
As I joked with Robert backstage, if Watergate happened tomorrow, it would be like a 12-hour news story. Like the idea that it would have taken down a presidency is crazy. And by the way, if you look at the story of how the deep state took down Richard Nixon, it's not all that different from what the same groups of people, the same institutions tried to do to Donald Trump in the first Trump administration.
Okay, so let me get the obvious part out of the way first. Him saying that the deep state took down Richard Nixon, the total BS, okay? Richard Nixon took down Richard Nixon. The Watergate scandal was Republicans under Nixon's direction broke into the DNC headquarters and were trying to steal files and steal information. And then Richard Nixon resigned in shame before he could be impeached and removed from office, because back then that was a really big deal. But the part that where Vance accidentally tells the truth is he's like, oh, this would be like a nothing burger in today's day and age, because this is the most corrupt administration in American history, and it's not even close. And he's right about the fact that, if Donald Trump did Watergate, it would be in and out of the news cycle. People would forget it immediately. But that's because he does so many illegal and corrupt things all the time on a daily basis that nobody can keep up. This is, in part sort of that Steve Bannon, flood the zone, muzzle velocity, just do as many ridiculous things as fast as humanly possible, and nobody will be able to keep up with everything that you're doing. But Trump, for example, everywhere that he goes when he flies all over the world, he tries to stay at a Trump hotel or a Trump property. He goes to his own golf courses, right? That means that the American taxpayer is paying Donald Trump to go to his own properties, which means that the U.S. government is paying Donald Trump because he still has ownership in those properties. They made Jimmy Carter sell his peanut farm, because, what if you took money through some sort of foreign government because he owns a peanut farm and they could funnel money to him? This is part of the Emoluments Clause of the Constitution of the United States. But Trump literally violates that on a daily basis by going to all of his own courses, and he hosts meetings at his own hotels. And not to mention all of the things. I could literally spend at least an hour just covering all the corrupt things that Trump has done in his second term alone. He has this hotel deal with Saudi Arabia where they're going to build 2 Trump towers in, I think it's Riyadh and Jeddah, and he's going to get paid royalties on those towers in perpetuity. Obviously, he got that $400 million jet from the Qataris. He's got his business deal with the country of Oman. He's got a resort in Vietnam. He's got his World Liberty Financial, where it's his crypto exchange, where he makes money off of every time there's a trade. There's trading fees. 2/3 of the coins are held by foreign wallets in World Liberty Financial. He did the rug pull on his own supporters with the Trump coin and the Melania coin, and he did the Trump watches. I could go on and on and on. So the thing that is true, what J.D. Vance says, is that Watergate would be nothing right now. I can't believe that this took down the president, but that's the point. That's the whole point, is that people have become so numb to the fact that Donald Trump just breaks the law with reckless abandon on a daily basis that, yeah, Watergate wouldn't seem like that big of a deal today. And it's not just Trump, it's literally everybody that he surrounds himself with. So like Howard Nutlick, for example, he makes money off of all the, the Trump taco on the tariffs, right? Oh, we're doing tariffs. Now we're taking tariffs off. Oh, we're doing tariffs. Oh, we're taking tariffs off. And there's massive market manipulation where there's been reporting that like Howard Nutlick and his sons have made like millions and millions and millions of dollars off of trading the market because they know that he's going to announce that right before it happens. And not to mention Trump himself. Like we found out fairly recently that he's traded hundreds of millions of dollars in stock while he's president. Again, completely ridiculous. But they used to tell everybody how bad Nancy Pelosi was. And it's like, Nancy Pelosi looks like a Girl Scout compared to Trump. Yeah, she was corrupt. Yeah, she's, mysteriously the best, stock trader of all time. It's obvious. They all have insider information. But like Trump literally does this on a daily basis, and he's more than doubled his net worth since getting back into office. And it's not just with stock trades. It's not with the corrupt business deals. It's literally everything, even down to the little stuff. So I've been covering recently like this reflecting pool debacle where he gave the contract as a no-bid government contract to some buddy of his. And, they say it's going to cost like $14 million or something like that. I guarantee you it doesn't cost $14 million to drain the pool, paint it, and refill it. But he says it cost $14 million, and the deal was probably like, hey, look, it's going to cost like, a couple $100,000 or maybe a couple million, and then you and me will just split the difference of what's left over. I guarantee that's what happened. And it's at every level. And the unfortunate thing, too, is, on the note of corruption, is that Trump has been enabled by the Supreme Court, right? So the Supreme Court basically has ruled that, like, hey, anything that the president does as a presidential act, he has immunity. So Trump basically interprets that as, I'm allowed to do whatever I want. And so it's not breaking the law because you're the president, which I think ironically Richard Nixon actually said at one point. I'm probably messing up the quote, but he was like, if the president does it, then it's legal, or if the president does it, it's not illegal. I can't remember the quote. I'll have to find it later. But anyway, this was embarrassing. I think that, this is one of the last things that people want to see the vice president of the United States doing at a time where like people are having trouble making rent and paying for their mortgage and paying for groceries and paying for gas, that he's out there promoting his book and, doing this book tour. But I mean, like, for JD, I'm sure he needs a break from being, sent off to be the fall guy for Trump whenever he's not doing this book tour promotion, because Trump is literally setting him up to fail with everything he does. He calls him like he made JD Vance the fraud czar. Like it's a sick joke. In this administration, you're putting the vice president in charge of fraud when you are the biggest fraud the country has ever seen. It's ridiculous. And then they send him off to do like the negotiations with Iran and the mediators instead of the actual president of the United States. Why don't they send Trump? Well, the reason they don't send Trump is because he's got dementia and he would probably fall asleep during the meeting because, doing negotiations like that with details and things, that's boring. So they're not going to send him. But the other thing, too, is that, if the negotiation fails, Trump has a fall guy. He can say, look, I trusted JD Vance to go and do it, and he messed up. So, it's not my fault. Same thing he does with everything, right? It's not my fault that the reflecting pool is falling apart. It's these elusive vandals that we have zero video evidence of them actually doing the crime that I'm saying that they're doing, cutting a gash in the pool liner. It's so gross. But like I said, I think that it's wild that he made this statement because it is true. Obviously, what he said after the fact is not true. Like the deep state took out Richard Nixon and he tries to blame the deep state for going after Trump. No, the reason that Nixon had to resign, which at least he had the good sense to resign, which Trump doesn't, is that he knew he was going to be impeached. And the reason why Trump is fighting so hard to make sure that we get the SAVE Act passed, to make sure that there's voter suppression, to make sure that ICE is going to be at polling places, to do everything in his power to try and rig the midterms is because he knows good and well that if the Democrats do win back power in the House and the Senate over the midterms, he is going to get impeached. And he needs to be. Like, he's got to be impeached. He's got to be removed. He's breaking the law every single day. He's the worst president, I think, in American history, definitely modern American history. And that's obvious to anybody who doesn't have MAGA brain worms. Anyway, guys, hope you like that one. Click the bell, hit subscribe, hit the like button. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.